Welcome back to another edition of Components Breakdown. Today we're going to look at the 2010 Essen release game called Glenmore. Glenmore is a 2 to 5 player tile placement game that takes on average about 60 minutes to complete. In Glenmore, each of the players is going to take on the role of a Scottish clan trying to compete for area and build up their tableau of resources in order to gain the most victory points in the end. Let's go ahead and open up the box and take a look inside. First thing in the box is a rule book. It is only 8 pages, but don't let its short amount of text fool you. The game has a lot of deep strategy within the game, although it is only advertised as a light to medium game. There are 2 thick cardboard player aids, which are double-sided, that have both the rule summaries and all the different tiles in the game. There is 1 singular game board, which houses the market in the center and all the different areas for the tiles. And inside here is 1 serviceable tray. Although it's not organized in the best possible way, and I don't think it was particularly made for this game, there are enough nooks and crannies in here to be able to fit everything that you would need. I put a Plano box in here to house all of the coins, the victory points, as well as the dice. There are whiskey barrels. There are 5 different kinds of resources in the game, which are represented by different color cubes. There are tiles, which players will be acquiring and placing in their tableau. There are black meeples, which are the clan's members. And then there are special cards, which represent different tiles in the game that players will be acquiring. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gameplay. The overall objective in Glenmore is for each of the players participating to acquire the most amount of victory points by the time that the end of the 3rd round occurs. Each of the rounds is represented by these individual stacks of tiles that are placed off to the side at the start of the game. At the beginning of the game board is seated with the 0 tiles and 1 tiles until the board is filled up. And we'll show you what that looks like when we start playing. But before we start playing, we need to look at each of the components in a little more detail. We're going to start off with what each player begins with. Each player is going to begin with one of these village tiles. And as I zoom in here on the village tile, you're going to notice a couple things. On the bottom right, it says that each of the players starts with one of these clan members, which are represented by these black clan members that you see here. There's also a river and a road that runs through it, meaning that anytime that you place an adjacent tile to these areas both north and south of this village, they have to be another river. So the river will always continue north and south, and the roads will always continue east and west. So you're going to have to place your tiles at specific areas when the game proceeds. Also, each player is going to start with 6 coins, which are represented by these plastic little tokens that you see here. Let's go ahead and look at all the different types of tiles. Now, these aren't all the different tiles there are in the game, because they're quite numerous in both the amount of tiles and the breadth of their abilities. So let's look at some of the resource producing ones first. They come in varieties of green and yellow. And basically what they do is they produce something. This one produces cattle, and this one produces stone. There are villages, which are the gray bordered ones, and castles, which usually allow you to bring additional clansmen in that you see here. Some of them cost resources that you see in the upper left-hand column. Whenever there is a resource payment, you have to have those resources available to you to be able to pay the cost and get this into your tableau. Some of them also have these little markers that you see over here on the left-hand side. These represent the special cards, and there are several of these special cards in the game. Whenever you acquire one of those tiles, you go through the stack and you find where that specific one is. And say it was Castle Moel. Some of them give you immediate abilities. You take this card and you simply place it on your side of the table. This is used for scoring at the end of each of the different rounds. There are brown tiles, which usually allow you to produce something. Let's go ahead and take a look at 2 of them. There is the butcher, which allows you to trade in 1 sheep for 2 victory points, or 2 sheep for 4 victory points. Very easy to understand. There is the annual fair, which is going to cost you 1 green, which is forest, basically, or wood. And this one's a little bit different. It's got a question mark cube over some victory points. This one has to pay either 1 unique style of resource to gain 1 victory point, or 2 different kinds of resources to get 3 victory points, or 3 different kinds to get 5. So you could trade in a stone, a sheep, and a wood to get 5 victory points. Very basic stuff, very easy to understand what all the tiles do. There's some great explanations in the rule book for a little further explanations with some of the special tiles, but it's very simple to understand, very easy to play. So let's go ahead and set up now the 3-player game and show you what a typical round is going to look like. We're now at the start of a 3-player game, and as I previously mentioned, each of the players is going to start off with one village tile placed face up in front of them with one of the clan's members placed on that village tile. As well, each of the players is going to start off with 6 total coins, which they will be using through the course of the game to buy resources from the market. The players as a whole are going to determine who is the starting player. We've determined here that the blue is the starting player, and he can place his marker anywhere on the board on one of these gray spaces. The additional players are going to place their tokens clockwise around him. So everything on the board moves in a clockwise pattern. In a 2 or 3 player game, the dice is going to be used for a robotic or automatic player. In most games that's a nuisance, but in Glenmore it only takes about 5 seconds to use that turn and then it's over. So it's very quick and very easy to understand. When that is done, the players are going to take that 0 stack that I already showed you, seen here on the back, and they're going to place that in a clockwise motion after the last player. So it's going to go around the board, leaving the last space between the first player and the last token. This space will always be empty through the course of the game, so there's always going to be one space behind the first player and the last tile on the board. During a player's turn, they're allowed 4 different actions, or there's 4 different things that are going to take place on their turn. The very first thing they're going to do is they're going to move their marker anywhere on the board that they so wish. They can take any one of these tiles as long as they can pay the resource cost of that tile. However, the game works very similar to a game like Thebes, that the further away you move from the opponents, the longer it's going to take you to take your next turn. The player in the back always gets to take their turn. So if they place their character here on this forest, it would be before all 3 of these go in front of him before he could take his turn again. Very easy to understand. It's very quick to play out. So if you really want a tile, it's a good idea to jump very far ahead to get that tile. However, just note that you're going to be skipping a lot of your turns before it comes back to you. So let's say, for instance, this blue player decides to take this forest. He simply takes the tile, places his marker on that, and that's the very first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is that he places his tile on his tableau somewhere. Note that the forest is a river also, so it's got to be connected to another one of your rivers. There's some tile placement rules in the game stating that a tile placement always has to have a river connected to a river or a road connected to another road. Also, you can only place tiles that are adjacent to one of your clansmen. Very easy to understand. Once that tile is placed, you activate that tile and all surrounding tiles that touch it. So to activate this tile, you simply take a green forest marker or wood marker and you place it on there. You can also activate this one, which allows you to move your clan member 1 space. So if you so wish to move him, you can move him down here. If you don't, you can leave him right there. The fourth thing that happens on your turn is you simply replace a tile. So you take one from the 1 stack here, and you place it down here, and you always leave the one right behind the next player empty. This is going to continue until all of these 1 tiles are gone. Once that is done, you go to a scoring round. At the end of each of these tiles, when all the 1s are placed, you have a scoring round. When all the 2s are placed on the board, you have a scoring round. And at the end of all the 3s, you have a scoring round, and then a final scoring round. Very easy, and we'll jump into a game here that is pretty far in progress to show you what it looks like. But I wanted to go into this one. When it's this player's turn, you simply roll the dice and you move that many spots. So you would move 1, skip the players that are there, and go 2. And he simply takes that and gets rid of it, meaning that no one can take this tile. It just negates people from being able to take all the tiles on the board, and it kind of shifts your strategy around. Very easy to understand. The last thing I want to explain on a player's turn is they can buy and sell to the market at any time they wish to do so on their turn. Buying from the market simply states that they can put their coins onto the next possible space. So if they wanted to buy a forest, they could place 2 coins there and take a forest from the supply. The only thing that you have to abide by when you buy these from the market is you have to use this same resource on that turn. You can't just stockpile resources. To sell from the market, there has to be visible things to sell. So if he wishes to sell his green forest that he has, he would take the rightmost portion of those 2 coins and put it into his tableau. If he had another green one, he could sell it, but it would only be worth 1. If he had a third green one, he couldn't sell it because there's no more coins available. Very easy to understand. So let's jump into a game pretty far in progress, show you the scoring, and then wrap it up. We're at the very end of the very first round. We're going to show you how this round is scored, and then just give you some game-ending scoring to show you how that will work, and wrap it up with my final thoughts. So, it is now the blue player's turn. Since he is the furthest back on the clockwise pattern that you see here, he's going to move to the quarry here and take this one off the board, placing it on his tableau. As you can see, his tableau has grown over through the course of the game. He places it here since there are no rivers and no roads that run through it, and it is adjacent to one of his clan's members. So he's going to gather 1 stone on this one because it activates, and all the ones surrounding it are going to activate as well. Even the ones that are onto the corner of it. So the pastures will activate, and the forest will activate. He's allowed to move up to 2 of his clansmen, and he's allowed to use the distillery here, which allows him to trade 1 of his wheat back into the supply, to gather 1 more of these whiskey barrels, which he simply places on his side of the board. What you see now, though, is that he needs to replace this tile with a 1, and this is the last one. So this is going to activate the end of the round scoring. There's 3 rounds, and at the end of each of them, you're going to score. The scoring happens in 3 different ways. First, you're going to count the number of whiskey barrels that you have produced. Whiskey barrels are usually produced through the distillery. And you're going to count the difference between yours and the lowest number by the lowest player. So if you have 3 and the lowest player has 0, that's a difference of 3, netting you difference 3, which nets you 3 victory points. So you simply take 3 victory points and you place them into your tableau. Very easy. The next thing that's counted are the number of cards. So you look and see, I have 1 card, no one else has any cards on their side. Cards are acquired through these special kinds of tiles that you see here. This one is called Castle Stalker, and this is the card Castle Stalker. So there's a difference of 1, which is worth 1 victory point. The next thing that is counted are chieftains, and I didn't talk about chieftains, but at any time that you have a movement point, instead of moving your people around the board to place new tiles on a later turn, you can actually remove one permanently from the game and place it in your tableau. He acts as a chieftain and can never be placed back onto your tableau of cards. However, he scored during each of the rounds. You score this as 1 chieftain. Also, some of these cards provide chieftains to you. So there's 2 chieftains here. Say no one else had any chieftains, that's a difference of 2, getting you 2 more points. Once that is done, you start up in round 2 and you keep going around the board. The third round is scored a little bit differently. At the end of the game, there's a third round which happens in the same way, and then there's an end of game, which you count. All of your coins will act as victory points. The number of tiles you have. If you have more tiles, it hurts you actually, and you lose points for more tiles. So you want to be efficient with the number of tiles that you have. This is a really, really excellent game. It kind of snuck up on me. I've heard about it before, and I heard that it got a lot of good buzz at Essen. But it's very simple to teach, and it's not really a light game because there are numerous strategies in the game to partake in. So each of your playthroughs is going to be extremely different from one another because there's a limited amount of resources and tiles in the game. And the more players that you play with, especially 5 players, it becomes very cutthroat. Although you really can't do anything to interact with someone specifically and hurt them, you can definitely deny them tiles, buy from the market, or deny them the market by either flooding it or selling everything that you can to the market. It's a really great game. There's a lot of strategies. It's really deep, but yet it's very easy to teach newcomers. I would definitely suggest this. I think it's one of the better games of 2010. That's Glenmore, and thank you very much for watching.